from St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
And we were able to determine there's 3 large gulps, 3 smaller gulps, and then someone pauses. Most people pause for about a second or two, and you take that last little swig, and that's the one that gives you the right? So when you add up all that volume, it comes to 24 ounces. So we go back and say, you need a bigger bottle, guys. It needs to be 24 ounce, not 20 ounce. You know, there's certain patterns, grasping patterns and grasping strategies that you and I use. To us, then, the charge is how do you design in some kind of functional attribute that gives you a patent claim, something they can own, and at the same time adds a stunning appearance.
Have you ever had a design a redesign that just it didn't work?
Yeah, I did.
I'm Sarah Fensky. If you partied this past weekend, chances are pretty good you used a product designed in St. Louis to do it.
Red Solo Cup, I fill you up. Let's have a party. Let's have a party.
What, you didn't know the iconic Red Solo Cup got its redesign here? Well, what about the design of the Heinz Dip and Squeeze packet or Microsoft's first ergonomic mouse? Those designs and many more are all the work of the Metaphase Design Group, which has quietly worked its design magic in St. Louis for 30 years. And joining us now with more on this company is Bryce Rutter. He is the founder and CEO of Metaphase Design Group. Bryce, welcome.
Thanks very much.
So, Bryce, you design products, basically any product anybody needs?
Well, the majority of our stuff is in the medical field. So at any given time, we're working on surgical instruments, surgical systems. So the console, the disposable element, the handpiece, the foot pedal, pretty much everything, end to end. That's about 60-70% of our business, and the balance is on the consumer side. So we do things like Gatorade bottles.
Solo cups.
Solo cups. What a great reminder of the heritage of that cup.
Yeah. So for these products that are more on the consumer side of things, are you looking for particular qualities that would make this perfect for your firm?
Yeah, everything has to work well. So the ergonomics have to be perfect. Because if you can't use it, it's going to be one of those things you set aside or complain about or just chuck it out. So it's all about the ergonomics, and that's kind of the DNA behind everything we do, is to figure out how we can design something that works like how you and I think, feel, and behave.
Yeah, we might not even realize that we don't like the feel of something, but it's your job to make sure that we're going to like it enough to keep using it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the coolest parts of our business is doing the research, putting concept designs in front of people, videotaping them in our bathroom lab that has one-way mirrors.
They know they're being videotaped, of course.
Exactly. Yes, for sure.
This is not a Chuck Berry situation.
No, it's not. But there is a story there in our old facility. Time permits. But watching their behaviors, listening to what they say, and really how they behave, because those two never align. No one is introspective like that. So that's the secret sauce, so to speak, to figure out, are we going down the right path? Do those features really matter? And can we make the thing as seamless as possible in someone's hand, especially a surgeon?
That seems so important.
Yeah, that's the real steal in there.
And I imagine with surgeons, they're very mindful of what they're doing. They might actually be able to describe kind of what they want. But with most of us, with a toothbrush, I have no idea what I want. I just know what feels good. So how do you run these sessions where you're watching people in this bathroom lab?
Yep. So we've done some toothbrush studies for Colgate within the last few months, and you figure out who they want to sell to. So there is a cohort, a specific demographic profile that we recruit, bring them in. We'll have 1 or 2 or 3 different concept designs in prototype fashion that they can actually brush their teeth with. We'll ask them to bring in their own toothbrush, so we have kind of a baseline, see how they brush. You ask them to brush your teeth, so the fun part is you dissect all the video and you start to look for how do they flip the toothbrush when they go from the bottom teeth to the top. There's a little bit of a dance in there with your fingers. So can we make that roll or that twiddle a little bit easier for someone, especially someone who is, my mom at 95 with compromised hand function? Because if we can get one that's easy for her, it's going to be easy for everyone.
Yeah.
And to make sure that it's dignified. It doesn't look like a medical device,
Yeah.
It's something that you and I would want to own.
So how do you go about the fact that the people have such different hands? A toothbrush that works for me might not work for my husband. Sure. You kind of have to design for both of us.
Yeah. Well, I was crazy enough to spend 3 years in college studying hand function. And there's a multitude of things you can do with your hands. There's certain patterns, grasping patterns and grasping strategies that you and I use. We know when you go from bilateral, like a 2-finger grip, to a 3-finger grip, and then it's always to a 5-finger grip, never a 4-finger grip. And there's the size and the texture, they all influence how you shift between those different grasping strategies. So when we're designing a surgical instrument and we know that the motion for the instrument has to be in and out or slight rotations, then we're trying to figure out the design of those touch surfaces or control surfaces on the instrument to really allow the surgeon to feel and experience the highest degree of precision he or she can.
So I can see how your PhD comes in handy when you're doing this kind of thing. But then we get to the Solo Cup.
Yeah, I know.
So it seems simple. Maybe this is deceptively simple. Why did the Solo Cup even need a redesign?
Well, I remember the meeting. I was asked to come into the owner of Solo, asked me into his office, and he had 12 Solo Red cups on the table. And he said, these are all knockoffs, Chinese knockoffs. Our patent is expired. We have no IP now. So there's nothing unique. Everyone's the same. So we want you to design our next generation red Solo cup. But it has to have some kind of distinguishing characteristics. And we want you to do something so we can patent the darn thing. To us, then, the charge is how do you design in some kind of functional attribute that gives you a patent claim, something they can own, and at the same time adds a stunning appearance. So if you look at the new cups, you've got a nice little inlay of the Solo logo. It works as a nice grip zone because we're hand people.
It does have that better grip these
days.
Right,
so you can have that extra drink and not drop it, at the end of the party.
And so this was a success. Solo was able to get the patent, and
yes.
I'm drinking this weekend. I'm not even realizing it. You've made my drinking go more smoothly.
There you go.
What about with Gatorade? I understand that was also a redesign.
Gatorade, they wanted a new sport bottle. Their current sport bottle was a 20-ounce bottle. So as it goes, usually in the first meeting before we write a proposal, they said, well, why is it 20 ounce? I'm just curious. They said, well, that's because the manufacturer said that that's the size of the machine, that he has. And I said, well, this is all about hydration. Shouldn't it relate back to how much do you need in a bottle to quench an athlete's thirst?
Yeah.
And I said, that's a neat idea. And I'm thinking, I can't believe this. I can't believe it. So we did a consumption study. So we'd show up at Grant Park in Chicago, and we'd have like a 2-liter vessel of Gatorade, and someone would come off the court and say, hey, man, you want some free Gatorade? Yeah, we just want to videotape you. And then they start slamming it back. So we did that at hockey games, cross-country meets. We went across 12 different sport categories. And what you find is everyone needs 7 gulps to quench your thirst. And we were able to determine there's 3 large gulps, 3 smaller gulps, and then someone pauses. Most people pause for about a second or two, and you take that last little swig. And that's the one that gives you the right?
Right.
So when you add up all that volume, it comes to 24 ounces. So we go back and say, you need a bigger bottle, guys. It needs to be 24 ounce, not 20 ounce, for these reasons. And we know the rate that people drink, and that dictated the orifice diameter in the cap. And the last thing is they all had, these stupid syrup cup pull caps. And we're sitting in a room one meeting, and, designers sitting around and said, well, why not make it the shape of a mouth? So we did. And that's how that shape happened, because it's easier to do.
And so did that work? I mean, did they sell more Gatorade?
Oh, phenomenal. They reported in the media in the first year, they increased their revenues 25%.
Wow.
Just because of the bottle design. People go in the store and they look at it, and the thing about world-class design is when you look at it, it speaks to you, kind of.
Yeah.
You see the affordances and you say, that makes so much sense. And by the way, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, you
so
just want it.
It had curb appeal, and it started jumping off the shelf. They rolled back from a national launch to a regional launch to only a Florida launch because they couldn't make enough of the stuff in that bottle. And they built a new factory around that design. So the amount of money it takes to kind of get to market, it's a big nut, you know, 20, 30 million bucks of equipment. But the cost of design, our costs, were amortized in 1.3 days.
1.3 days, wow.
They're selling hundreds of millions of dollars of this stuff. So great design, if it moves the meter, just 1%, it's an easy payback.
So what's interesting about this is I know you've been pretty frank about the fact that your company is more expensive than many of your competitors. I wonder if you ever have a client who's getting in there, they're getting to this meeting stage, and you're like, hey, I'm going to be a little more expensive, and people don't realize, hey, this is going to pay off, and they kind of miss the boat.
Well, it's a good way to sort out people who are good clients.
Yeah.
It's not about the price. It's if you're going to have a stent put in, do you want your GP to put it in, or do you want a cardiologist? We're the cardiologists. Guess what? We make more money. All right.
Yeah. So you can come in with just a little bit of confidence.
Right. So we have some pretty unique expertise, and it is about our team. That's why we're expensive. Our director of human factors, Dr. Bascalo, in his previous life was working at the Olympic Training Center.
Oh, wow.
And he's a walking Bible of the human body. Cooper Priest, our director of design, man, he is just an A-list designer. Because when you design it, it's not about just the looks. It's integrating those ergonomics. And then you have to figure out a way to manufacture it, and get it to market so you can make money on it, because this is a business.
Have you ever had a redesign that just it didn't work?
Yeah, I did, man. I had a dud. It was a barbecue, and it was a gas barbecue. And we went through all the research. We thought we did it the right way, and it came out in the market, and it just stunk. And what we learned is in the barbecue category that consumers have this very strong kind of image of what a barbecue should be.
Yeah. Don't
screw it up, And we were definitely disruptive. We were trying to be disruptive. And people looked at it and it's like, well, what is that? That doesn't fit my mental model of what a grill should look like.
There's almost too much nostalgia. We can't look at the design purely as design.
Correct. And it happens too with the surgeons. You talk to a cardiologist or a neurosurgeon. It's kind of like, I don't even want to change anything, because I've been trying to perfect this technique.
Yeah.
So trying to get them to articulate, what's wrong with their instrument, you can't do that. You got to watch them. And you got to see how they're doing it. And then, if you're the hand person, then you can kind of figure out ways, that little thing. I could do something in that little grip area that would help him do that, because he's rotating his arm. And, he's going to get worn out by the end of the day.
Yeah, you almost have to sell them on, okay, I can make this better.
Yeah.
We're talking today to Bryce Rutter. He is the founder and CEO of Metaphase Design Group. They're based in Midtown St. Louis, doing fascinating work, both for surgeons and in the medical space, and then also in the consumer space. Many products that we use every day. It turns out this firm has done the design on them. I understand you grew up on a farm in Canada. Did you set out to say, you know what, I'm going to become an expert in this. I'm going to get a PhD in hands.
Wow, yeah, that's what a journey that was.
Yeah.
I've always had a bug for medical stuff. I kind of like that. Maybe when I die and come back, I'll come back as a doctor of something, medical doctor. But I did my undergrad in Carleton University in industrial design. Prior to that, I started in architecture. And then I remember, buildings took so long to get up. I'm more of an instant gratification guy. And besides, you could do many more things in industrial design than architecture. So I then came down to the University of Illinois, did my master's, went back home, worked, then came back down again to do my PhD, found my lovely wife, my green card, my wife, and we've been married for a long time, too. And I'm not going to tell you how long because I may get the number wrong and then I'll be in trouble.
You can't do that on the air.
But it's over 35, I think.
Okay. So she predates the company.
That's right, yeah. And then I was working for two guys here in St. Louis doing some design work. And they said, hey, we met your boss, in Chicago, and we can't see you being there that much longer. What are you going to do? So that night, over dinner, we cut a deal, and we started Metaphase in 60 days, 60 days later. So I had these two gentlemen float my boat, taught me a lot about how to run a business. And in 1999, I bought the last of them out, and we've just been rocking and rolling, from that part.
You came to St. Louis because of them.
Yeah.
What's kept you committed to St. Louis? As you said, you bought them out. This is your company now.
Yeah. Well, it's being able to fly direct to everywhere. Oh no, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Being a consultant, and that's a rub. Makes it a little bit more difficult because you could do a fly in and out in a day. Do a New York meeting.
Yeah.
No more. Kind of burns a day. But St. Louis is a low cost center to run a business.
Yeah.
I've compared my rent with some buddies in Manhattan. I got them beat.
For sure.
Oh my God, yeah. I think the culture that is in the city, I find to be a nice balance. I like the sports; it's fun, and having lived in Toronto, lived in Chicago, and to start your day with an hour commute. It's not a great way to start, and it's not a great way to end your day, and it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So, I love the ability to jump in the car and be anywhere in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That's a big advantage here. You just moved from Cortex down to about a year ago. You moved to Locust Street in Midtown. That seems like such a vibrant street right now.
It's very cool.
What was the reason for making that move?
Well, the fellow who owns the building, Jason, was... he really kind of got my attention with his openness to my type of business going into his building. He was very collaborative with us in how we design that space so we can build in our usability test labs. We have one in the kitchen, bathroom. We do clinical simulations and one-on-one testing, and a patio. We do party research out there. And we live stream the research, which is pretty cool, especially during COVID.
I bet, yeah.
And we were able to work through all COVID research protocols. So while a lot of my competitors had to shut down, we kept a nice chunk of work going out of 20 and into 2021. And the facility has really been a workhorse for us. But it's a cool space just to be in. I love coming into the office. And it really has that that effect on people. If you're in a nice space, put you in a good frame of mind.
Yeah, this seems like just
Yeah.
the perfect place. I imagine just in our final, minute here, a lot of people hearing this are like, man, I want to get in on this lab work.
Yeah.
Can people get on a short list and come
Sure.
test products for you?
Sure. Go to our website, send us an email, and say, I'd be more than happy to be a subject in any of your studies. We've got a database, so give us, go to our website.
You're looking for guinea pigs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
All types.
I love that this is all coming on here. I feel like there's maybe some listeners who their dream is to test the Solo Cup 3.0. That may be in their future.
Well, the biggest challenge for us is, we like to design things that if you're a little compromised in your, with your hands, that we can design it for you, and then it's good for everyone.
Yeah.
So trying to find people in town that can test concept designs for us. We're always looking for people like that.
Wow. So in particular, if you struggle with hand problems, this is a
Absolutely.
company you can help science here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Bryce Rutter, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
This episode was produced by Alex Hoyer, with audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr. Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer. St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.